That cut or
I think it was blocked. I think you might have blocked it off, but it's okay. The sound, yeah. It might have happened while you were walking.
I see. That's fine.
I don't know.
Hello, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to another episode of AusTableTalk. My name is Luke, and I am at the table with Shannon, Steve, and Emerson.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're back.
First things first. I mean, yes, it's welcome back because we haven't recorded for a while collectively, but welcome back to you. You've been away.
I'm actually probably back.
Yeah, you're actually back.
Yeah, well, for those who listened to the last episode, I was talking about going. Well, I'm back now. We went, we did it, we made it, we survived.
That was a very confusing words, but yes.
It made sense to me.
Yeah.
No, it was good. It's good fun. I highly recommend if you live in Australia. It's a must-do trip. Go see the Cape. Go get yourself.
For people
one of
who
those,
don't live in Australia, what Cape?
Cape York. It's the pointy part at the top of Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
can't miss it.
If you were to describe what was the pinnacle experience while you were there?
The best. Well, the highlight by far was the old Telegraph track, which is the famous track that is up there, and it's got all of the beautiful rivers that you drive through, and they're all just got waterfalls and swimming holes and sandy little sections and rocky jump off spots, and that all of them are just packed with like this beautiful, just great for swimming, and you could just drink it, while you're underwater. It was fantastic.
So you drove like 20 hours to drink water.
Yes, the best water. No, we stayed at one spot called Sam's Creek, and that was the highlight because it's just a very nice swimming hole with a really good camp spot. Yeah.
I saw some of the photos. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing places you guys went.
I didn't even send you the videos. I put together a little collection of photos. So anyone who's asked me, how was your trip? I'm just like, send them that collection.
Yeah.
Voila. Have a look. These are my best. Well, not the best pictures, but the best ones to show what it was like. Yeah.
Awesome. And you left and the intention was for us to keep recording, but I don't know, you couldn't come, and then I got sick, and then he got sick, and it just sort of went bing, 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 and then it didn't happen. We made it back. So how have you guys been? Good?
Yeah.
What's the most exciting thing that's happened to you in the last month?
Not too much. It's been pretty...
It's been a slow month. School holidays as well, right?
Holidays,
so you haven't been at the school or whatever.
Yeah.
So, he's not in school. He works out of school.
Out of school.
Yeah. I was going to say, boy, but look at that beard. You've been held back a few times, man.
Feeling grade 6.
What about you, Steve? Best thing that's happened, most exciting, most interesting, or funniest thing in the last month for you?
That's dangerous because my memory is horrible. Yeah. So a month is a long time. Yeah. I don't know. The thing I'm probably most excited about is I've been working on an app. Well, I'm not. Well, I'm paying someone.
Yes, you are. You are working on an app. This is your idea. It's
so working on an app. So we're in the development phase. So getting keen for some results. So
that's I have no idea about this. Yeah, you're making an app.
I'll show you after. It's a very specific surveying tool.
Yep.
This is your opportunity, man. Pitch it. Like get people to be interested.
For all surveyors.
How many surveyors are in our audience?
I know 2 other admin surveyors. But yes, it's man, it's boring explaining it.
You don't have to explain it.
On a survey plan, you're just calculating points using surveying techniques, and normal calculators can't do it. Long story short, and the calculators that can do it, you've got to buy, and they're not cheap, and you got to buy software on top of that. So I wanted something that'll run on our survey controllers, on your phone, on your desktop. It'll all run the same.
Are the survey controllers running Android?
Android and Windows. Yeah. So we're doing it. So that's why I ditched iOS, because I'm like, future problems if people want it.
Yep.
So
good choice. Good choice.
Boo.
What's wrong with you guys? Come on now. But that's very cool. But you know what? Awesome. Speaking as someone who is in the software industry, how have you found the experience of coming up with an app, designing it, and then getting that communicated to the developer? How is that? Has that been an easy process, or has it changed your view of what it means to make software?
I have, because we've only done the design phase so far, like I definitely appreciate the complexity, but also I feel like it's in my job. Like I come to someone and, well, they come to us and say, we want this. I'm like, okay. And then I go and do it. Like that's my job.
Yep.
So, and I feel like of all the clients who are on the amateur side, I've given them, like I've basically done the design and given it to them and I just said, make it,
Yep.
like make it look good. But, you know, these are the elements I want. This is the functionality I want. I've got,
Yep.
you know, big documents of functions and like, yeah, I've been very descriptive. I haven't said, oh, I want a calculator that does this and walked away. It's been quite hands-on. But yeah, not too bad. But again, it's also, it's been an interesting experience because I did like 10 interviews with all these different developers to try and figure out someone who I could work with. And then cultural and language barriers have been not a problem, but definitely interesting trying like not trying to offend people by saying certain things and having to communicate not vaguely, because sometimes the way we say things, you can kind of imply something and it's not negative. It's just like, oh, you know, I'd love to see this happen. And then, you know, in our culture that it's going to happen, but they just completely miss it. So you've got to be pretty clear, but not rude. Just be like, you know, this is what I expect to see. You bet you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's way more dependent on good communication. Like getting a good outcome is way more dependent on good communication than you probably expect when you start processes like that.
Well, he's there designing in Figma, and I was literally he got mad at me at one point because I was there, and I was doing other stuff, and then I'd flick over to Figma and see what he was doing, and then I'd write a comment, no, not that, do this, and then go back to what I was doing. He's like, I'm getting there. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. I was like, I'll stop. Let me know when you're done, and I'll come back.
Figma is such a cool tool for that.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah.
Sorry, I know I'm geeking out over here. I will let us get off this topic, but
sorry.
it's a place that I have a lot of lived experience. It's my job to sit on other people's Figma files and do exactly what you just did. So yeah,
Very cool.
cool. So having said that, what I want to do, I want to give a shout out just before we get to Reels and Feels. I want to give a shout out to a member, or a freshly minted member of the Table Tribe. His name is Tinashe. Tinashe, I just wanted to give you a big shout out. He's been commenting on some of our recent reels that have been going out, and he's been lending his support from his his study of the Bible, and we really appreciate that. Tinashe, I really enjoyed our conversation last week. I look forward to catching up again with you, but I just wanted to welcome you formally on the air to our community. So.
Good on him.
Actually, speaking of that particular post, I don't know for anybody who's watching this or listening to the episode, but the specific post that I'm referring to was one about we were talking about the state of the dead, what happens when people die. And most of our content goes out, gets a handful of likes, gets a couple of shares, and a comment or two. That's kind of what most of stuff. This one, I don't know. I don't know what the algorithm did, but this particular post, it hit it, and there's like 80 comments or something on that post now. But looking at the how the people responded to each other, and I just loved it. It was so like un-internet like. If you know what I mean. Like the people
weren't being mean.
No, they weren't. I mean, there were people that disagreed. You know, there were a couple of people that were like, "Oh, these guys wouldn't have a brain cell to rub together between them." But yeah, but okay, there's a couple of those. But by far the vast majority
couple of brain
people,
cells, you mean?
Yeah.
We've
What did I
got
say?
a few. No, I'm just making a joke.
Okay.
You said there's a couple of those referring obviously to the comments, and I just acted like you were referring to the brain cells.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We've got one or two. I share one with him. Where was I going with that? Yes, the conversation in the comments, aside from that, was actually quite respectful, but also quite deeply thought. People actually giving references. I believe this because of this, and here are the verses why. And I really appreciated the way that was done. So any of you guys that are listening, if you were a part of that conversation, good on you guys. And if you weren't a part of that conversation, check out our reels. We'd love to hear from you there too. Yes. Now, to Reels and Feels. These guys have been so slack. I'm the only guy that's got one today, so I'm just going to jump up from my seat and I'll go and hit play.
I haven't had an internet purge. It's been very good. But yeah.
Now you're back to...
No, I need to get to...
Are you going to change the screen?
There you go.
You didn't do that last time. When the last episode we did, we played that video of the guy throwing the screwdrivers. Reacted to it. Nobody's seen it.
You have to put it in post.
Oh, mute.
It's muted.
Oh, muted. Sorry, guys.
There we go.
So especially when we get into big tech and we talk about censorship a lot and we talk about Orwell, he has this really wonderful opening to this book. It was written in 1982. It literally predicts everything that's going on now. I frankly think that I'm adding nothing and it's really just Neil Postman called it all in 1982. He had this great opening. It says, let's see, we were all looking out for, 1984. When the year came and the prophecy didn't, thoughtful Americans sang softly in praise of themselves. The roots of liberal democracy had held. This is like we made it through the 1984 gap. Wherever else the terror had happened, we at least had not been visited by Orwellian nightmares. But we had forgotten that alongside Orwell's dark vision, there was another, slightly older, slightly less well-known, equally chilling vision of Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. Contrary to common belief, even among the educated, Huxley and Orwell did not prophesy the same thing. Orwell warns that we will become overcome by an externally imposed oppression. But in Huxley's vision, no big brother is required to deprive people of their autonomy, maturity, or history. As he saw it, people will come to love their oppression, to adore the technologies that undo their capacities to think. What Orwell feared were those who would ban books. What Huxley feared was that there would be no reason to ban a book, for there would be no one who wanted to read one. Orwell feared those who would deprive us of information. Huxley feared those who would give us so much that we would be reduced to passivity and egoism. Orwell feared the truth would be concealed from us. Huxley feared the truth would be drowned in a sea of irrelevance. Orwell feared we would become a captive culture, but Huxley feared we would become a trivial culture, preoccupied with some equivalent of the feelies and the orgy-porgy and the centrifugal bumblepuppy. Don't know what that means. As Huxley remarked in Brave New World Revisited, the civil libertarians and rationalists who are ever on the alert to oppose tyranny failed to take into account man's almost infinite appetite for distractions. Lastly, in 1984, Orwell added, people are controlled by inflicting pain. In Brave New World, they are controlled by inflicting pleasure. In short, Orwell feared that what we fear will ruin us. Huxley feared that what we desire will ruin us.
Holy shit.
Swear word warning.
That's very good. What do you expect?
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So when I came across that, I thought to myself, that's such a solid, explanation. I especially how long ago this was written, right? But I was thinking in juxtaposition to some of the things I've been reading recently about how technology is affecting the brain. There's these studies that have come out about people who are over-relying on AI and seeing the dip in their cognitive capacity, and, depending on how they use AI and things like that. I'm looking at this and I really feel like there is a lot of truth to it. Obviously, these things aren't universal, but I think it's a helpful mirror for us to explore what realities can look like. And when you think about this, if you take the step back to the place where we are, we think about it in the spiritual capacity, right? Well, if you were Satan, what would you be trying? Like,
Well, he's tried both.
Yeah, exactly. You would do both, and you would swing between like a pendulum, right?
Yeah.
If you get everyone as controlled as possible by the terrible dystopian force-filled variety, and okay, that stops working. Great, people get sick of that. All right, now let's push them all the way back to the opposing limit. And I think we're seeing a large part of that at the moment.
And I think that people are so surrounded by, like you're surrounded by more lies than truth. When we have this wealth of knowledge and you go, okay, well, all of this wealth of knowledge that we have at our fingertips is contradicting itself. So not all of it can be true. Maybe none of it's true. And people just don't know what to believe at all. And so instead of hiding the truth, you drown the truth in a sea of lies. And then you can't find the truth, but you'll find what you want to be the truth, maybe. When you drowned everyone in the sea of lies, they will pick out what they want to believe. They'll go, oh, well, I like this one.
This resonates with me.
This resonates with me, so therefore, and that's how we get this culture of my truth, your truth. If I think it's true, therefore it is true. This whole nonsense that has happened these days is, well, everything's contradicting everything. So if I want to believe this, I can, and if you want to believe that, you can. And there's no reason to argue about which one's the truth. And the truth is becoming irrelevant. You know?
Yeah. I think, just when you're talking then about it being drowned out, it made me think of Revelation 12, right? Where it talks about the woman being persecuted by the dragon. Verse 13, now when the dragon saw that he had been cast to the earth, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. That is Christ. But the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle that she might fly into the wilderness to her place where she would be nourished for a times and half a time from the presence of the serpent. So the serpent spewed water out of his mouth like a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away by the flood. But the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon spewed out of his mouth. I know this isn't a direct relation to what you're saying, but I'm pointing out this is one of the tactics of Satan, right? He tries to overwhelm. In this scenario, we believe that the water is representing the people, and so these people were sent out to hunt the people of God. But he drowns out things in many ways. You look at the church. When in the early church there was the church, and slowly over time that church got corrupted, and then God used the reformers to start bringing his truth back. What would have been great would be if the Reformation just continued until all of the truth was restored, but instead it fractured. People were not willing to accept all of the truth, and so it was incremental in its recovery of those doctrines. And so we end up having a multiplicity of choices. And I hear a lot of people these days saying, "Oh well, what church should you believe? They're all this or they're all that." But there's got to be truth somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, the interesting, there's going to be some parallels, perhaps even to this video in the study that we're looking at today. But we've decided that we're going to be looking at Matthew chapter 24. It's not something that we've looked at for a while on the show. We have studied it in the past, but not actually with this particular collection of people. And as is our experience, when we bring different people together, we get different lessons out. So.
Yeah, and I think it's a good one to revisit frequently
agreed.
Because it's talking about final events, signs of the times, and final events and signs of the times are always updating. And so it's always good to revisit Matthew 24 in the context of what we are seeing now. And what we are seeing now changes from the now to the next now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a good one to go back and look at. Yeah. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Maybe just by way of sort of setting the scene, if you're not so super familiar with the book of Matthew chapter 24, we're getting very close toward the end of Jesus' life, and here he is. He's giving some really clear teachings about the end of time. Just before this, we've had this section where he's talking to the Pharisees, right? Where he's saying woe to the scribes and Pharisees and telling them why. Then we come out the other end of that. He laments over Jerusalem, which I think is quite interesting in and of itself. Verse 37 of chapter 23. "O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, those who killed the prophets and stoned those who were sent to her. How often I wanted to gather your children together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you were not willing. See, your house is left to you desolate. For I say to you, you shall see me no more till you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." And so that's the end of that. And then we pick up the story in Matthew chapter 24. It says, Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came up to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said to them, "Do you not see all these things? Assuredly I say to you, not one stone shall be left here upon another that shall not be thrown down." So that's an interesting beginning. Maybe I don't want to monopolize this. Do you guys want to read some more, or do you want to discuss that first?
Well, no,
part?
he starts it out with like a prophecy, like a pretty clear-cut prophecy. Like, this is a thing that I'm saying to you is going to happen. Which is pretty plain and simple.
Which it was absolutely transformative to transformative. That's the wrong word. Shocking to their way of thinking, right? Because they were so excited about this building, and they were using it to try to cheer Jesus up. Like, hey, check this out! Look how beautiful! Look! It's gorgeous.
Yep.
Right, but he's saying
national pride.
Yeah, he's saying you don't get it. That's going to be destroyed. Not just disused, but there won't even be stones left
Yeah.
on top of each other.
Mm.
Yeah, I wonder sometimes, and it's kind of like a curveball question, but Jesus seems to have this insight into the future, like periodically, like just from what he says, like we could assume that he has it all the time. But it's interesting. I wonder if God's revealing the stuff to him, like in the moment, or like because if we believe that Jesus' divinity was clothed in his humanity and he wasn't relying on his own power, he must have been getting his his like prophetic stuff from God. So I don't know how that works because I'm not a prophet, but I'm wondering if he's like seeing visions or if he's just like, I don't know, like
Just knows, yeah.
just like. But then how do you
Remembers.
how do you
It's
know?
like remembering something that hasn't happened yet. You know, that's sort of how I picture it in my head. You know, but we're deep into speculation town.
Yeah.
So I think it's worth saying here that this was very much fulfilled 70 AD. So, not so in the great scheme of history, not that long after this conversation happens, Rome comes in and does precisely this. And when he says not one stone will be left upon another, I don't think that's just poetic. Like it was not just destroyed, but some of the accounts talk about the intense heat, melting gold and it falling down in the cracks. And so like after it was over, people scavenged and like literally turned over all of the
lifted all the rocks.
Lifted all the rocks. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this is a very specific prophecy that was fulfilled in very minute detail.
Verse 3, now he sat on the Mount of Olives. The disciples came to him privately saying, tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? All right, so this sets the tone for the whole chapter, right? Because this is the question that he spends the next chapter answering. And so if you want...
And it's a misguided question.
What do you mean?
It's loaded with an assumption anyway.
Yeah. It's loaded with an assumption. So they're making the assumption that the two things they're asking about are the same event.
Yeah.
Right? So tell us, when will these things be? So
that's asking about the temple.
Yes.
Yep.
And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?
Yep. So they assume, the temple's not going to be destroyed until the end of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is, fair enough.
But Jesus also then, he kind of connects those two together, and he gives a little bit of, he answers both questions. But
he gives them the answer they need, not the one that they were necessarily asking for. You know, I mean, he answers the question, but he takes the scenic route. You know, verse 4, he says, and Jesus answered and said to them, take heed that no one deceives you. So straight away they say, when will the temple be destroyed? When are you coming back? And what's the sign? And he says, just be careful, no one deceives you. We're already going like, what? He says, for many will come in my name saying I am the Christ, and will deceive many. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. All right, this is not, so people go, wars and rumors of wars is a sign of the time. So when you have lots of war, that means Jesus is right on the doorstep. No, because he says... The end is not yet. It's pretty clear, right?
He says this will happen, but that's not actually the end.
That's right. Things are going to get bad. They're going to go from bad to worse to worse.
Would that have been basically answering their thing about the temple being destroyed? Because that would be like a war, rumors of war type stuff.
Yeah.
The end's not yet.
Yeah.
Well, Jesus sets up a bit of a pattern here, right? So he sets up a pattern because he goes from that and he says, so there'll be wars, rumors of wars. He deals with that. Then he gives again a little more detail. For nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines, pestilence. Okay, so wars, famines, pestilence, earthquakes in various places or diverse places, whatever your translation. All these things are the beginning of sorrows. So when these happen, this is the starting point for this time of suffering. All these things that are the beginning of the sorrows, then they will deliver you up to tribulation. They will kill you and make you hated by all nations for my name's sake. So there will be a beginning of sorrows. Then, so this is a statement of chronology, then they will deliver you up. So after these times, there will be a delivering of my people up to tribulation, for that they're going to be killed and hated by the nations. Then many will be offended. We will and betray one another and will hate one another. Then many false prophets will rise up and deceive many. And because lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold. But he who endures to the end shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in all the world as a witness to all nations. And then the end will come.
All right, so there's your first sign of the time. The only one that we've gotten so far is verse 14. This gospel of the nation will be preached to all the world as a witness to all the nations, and then the end will come. So all of this is he who endures to the end will be saved, right? All of this is not a sign. It's a thing to endure through because the end is not yet, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about, before we go on, let's talk about them in sequence. First one, verse 5. One of my favorite verses for people to take out of context, right? So I guess what I mean by that is like, who deceives Christians more than, what group of people deceive Christians more than any other group? Christians, right? So people coming in, he says, people will come in my name saying that I am the Christ and will deceive many. So it's not talking about someone's going to come and say that it's not, I am Jesus and I'm going to deceive you. No, it's saying
many will
Jesus
come in my name.
Is the Son of God. People saying that will deceive many, right? So it's saying just because they come in the name of Christ doesn't mean they're not going to deceive you. So take heed that you're not deceived.
And that's also recurring throughout the chapter 24. And then, even after this idea of deception, right?
Yeah.
Be careful. You don't want to be deceived.
Don't be deceived. Don't be deceived. Don't be deceived, right? And so we have the word of God right here, right? This is the only place to get the truth. This is the only place that you can be assured to not be deceived. Not AusTableTalk podcast, right? Yeah. The Bible, not us. Don't get your information from us, right?
Look it up.
Check everything that we say. Yeah. Check everything that we say to this book right here, the Word of God. Yeah, obviously we're not trying to deceive anyone.
Yeah, we're doing our best, but it's also not our responsibility to make those decisions for others. So here it says, and many will be offended, will betray one another, hate one another. I think it's pretty clear. We could say that we've seen a lot of that happening throughout history, right? This is something
very recently. A lot of people getting offended.
Yes, okay. You say that. Like, let's name that. So, like the situation with Charlie Kirk, right? We've seen so many people that are, really in so many ways not that different from each other, having this big offensive falling out sort of experiences because they've taken different sides, of this issue, which is, it's terrible. I hate seeing that because I think that the divisiveness is in many ways far worse than, being on the wrong side of the argument.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
There's such good people on both sides. There's also really bad people on both sides.
Yes.
It's like, you guys stop all of this.
Yes.
Because there's also the thing of like going around saying the catchphrase, I am Charlie Kirk or whatever. It's like, you shouldn't be claiming to be another person. You could like what he do, you might not like, but like those who are saying that like what he does and want to do what he does, but you should really be trying to follow Jesus.
That's right.
Instead of a person.
Yeah. Back to I am of Paul, I am of Apollos. In the Bible times, they were already doing that and attaching themselves to notable speakers. Like, this is me. Like this is my person. I am of John MacArthur. I am of insert name of other impressive theological person, but
Yeah.
like that, it's common. It's human nature. It's someone we can relate to, and so therefore we're going to attach ourselves to them.
Yeah, I follow this evangelical preacher who's really good, really good preacher. Keenan Clark, American guy, right? And I really love his stuff, and I would recommend him. But yeah, I seen that he went to that big conference, right, where they had the big Charlie Kirk celebration, and they were singing hymns, and Trump was there, and J.D. Vance preached a sermon, and it was this big deal, and he was there, and he had the wristband on. So the first thing I seen was and I loved Charlie Kirk. I thought he was really, really good, and I'm devastated that he's gone, right? I think he was a really good pillar for the gospel. But they're up there and they're singing praise and worship songs, and they've got this huge painting of his face. And I'm like, this feels not right, right? And then the next one, he had that band on. He said, where it says, "I am Charlie Kirk." And I'm like, man, I gotta say something. Like, I know he's, probably gets a lot of messages. He's not going to see this, but I had to write, like, man,
You
like
sure?
this feels like idolatry. This feels a lot.
You're venerating
like
a
idolatry.
saint right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think that a lot. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because there's a very big spiritual movement happening in America right now. A lot of people are going to church. A lot of people are, looking for the truth, turning to Jesus. But it's,
Spoiler.
gotta be like, man, watch that you're not deceived.
Yeah.
That's the thing that Jesus, that's the first thing he says, is watch that you do not be deceived, because this is great, but it's also a really great opportunity for deception, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what you were just saying, as you were explaining that, it's something that I've always felt discomfort around is when people say, I was actually saying before we started recording earlier that, I remember back when America was much more left leaning than it is right now politically. And very secular. And I had conversations with people, and based on my understanding of what Scripture says, that there will be a swing towards, compulsive religious power.
Yeah.
Right. I think the Bible very clearly teaches that. I could not care less whether that is enacted by, one government, one party or another party in the government. It's irrelevant. What's relevant is that the Bible says it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I had conversations with people where I've said, I believe that the Bible says this, and they would point at the current political climate and say, how could you possibly say that that's going to be happening? Like right now, it's so secular. It's not even remotely Christian. And I see this happening. I'm like,
Flips so quick.
it flips so fast,
quick, man.
so fast, because there's a trigger, right? Whenever there's a trigger, that there's this perfect cultural storm.
Turning point, might you say? No.
Yeah, but like I have a lot
You're
of
not
friends.
wrong.
Yeah, but I've got a lot of
Yeah.
friends that like, Charlie Kirk's great. You just said yourself, you really like Charlie Kirk.
That's great.
There were individual points that he made that I really resonated with, but the structure around that he places around that I was really uncomfortable with, right? And so when I hear people that or see like all of this like evangelical swing towards let's get behind this thing, as someone who reads the Bible and what I see in at the end of time, there's going to be some really religious people doing some atrocious things. And this to me looks like, okay, even if this isn't it, this is certainly taking us a lot closer to that.
Yeah, I don't think Charlie Kirk did any atrocious things.
Yeah.
But it's a it's a finger hold.
It moves the zeitgeist in the direction of oppression.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what I will say.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see a lot more of that as well in this particular passage. Do you guys want to talk any more about verses like 1 through 14 at all before
And
we look any further?
I'll say another thing on that is when the population becomes religious, the politician says that he's religious, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Because
Constantine.
yeah, exactly. And so you will get these people coming in Christ's name saying that Jesus is Christ. But they're just not. you know, like it's just so they can get votes or whatever, you know, and you got to be watching out for stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like all of a sudden Donald Trump's like, I'm a Christian. It's like, yeah,
Sure.
sure.
Yeah. Yes. So after this point, he talks about this, gives this overview of this will happen, because of lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold. Yes, that's something that's very visible. But he who endures to the end will be saved. And the sign that you pointed out as being the one that he actually says is the sign is this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in all the world as a witness to all nations, and then the end will come. Can I ask you guys what is the measurable outcome that you think that's describing? Like, I heard a preacher say, does that mean that like if I could get a tank and drive through every city on the planet with a loudspeaker on the roof that's just saying Jesus is Lord and you've got to accept him, like would that qualify as fulfilling this requirement?
Well,
No, not at all. You're not giving anyone a chance, really, to turn to Christ, right?
yeah, like it's just saying that what the gospel is, because it's the gospel of the kingdom. What's the purpose of the kingdom? Which you see through the gospels, you see through the whole Bible. What's pointing? If you're just saying those words, like there's no context or truth behind it, because it can lead to anything.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would qualify?
I think everyone having the opportunity and the like the reasonable, like, here's your opportunity, here's the truth. Which way will you turn? Have that moment, Am I going to pursue this?
So would you,
or am I going to
would you
reject
say
it completely?
that means that every person has to get to the point where they have had adequate information and also the calling of the Holy Spirit, so they actually had a point of decision?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say
It's
that.
not- it's
yeah,
not- it's
which I
not
think a
just.
lot more people have had than what you would think. Especially in these day and age. Everybody has heard the story, but hearing the story is a bit different to hearing the gospel.
Yeah.
You can hear the news, but then you can hear it from the point of view of, well, it's actually good news, and it's not really the same thing. But the Holy Spirit's active for sure.
I agree the Holy Spirit is active, but I found it really interesting that you just said that you think more people have been exposed than you would think.
To the gospel.
To the gospel.
Yeah.
I think it's twofold. I think more people have been exposed to the gospel that you would not expect to have been exposed to the gospel. And I think there are far more people that you would think have been exposed who actually haven't. I would go so far as to say is there would be a lot of people that go to church every week who have not yet heard the gospel.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is I think there has been a substitute gospel that has been preached so strongly in so many places that I think God is, working really hard to uncover the actual gospel for people who have had a cultural Christian experience without having a personal relationship with Jesus.
See, the one thought, and I guess we don't have to talk about it too much, it's just one thought I've had, is if people keep having babies or stuff
They do that.
like that, like there's still going to be more and more people to hear the gospel and really have that point of decision, and that takes time to grow up, but then there's more babies, or there's more people in unreached places or something like that. In my brain, it's like, how do we actually get to that point where everyone has heard the gospel of the kingdom? And that just boggles my brain a little bit too. And I know there'll be a time because the Bible says so. But yeah.
Yeah. No, I think you just got to get the Christians talking.
Yeah.
Too many quiet Christians. People work with a Christian for 10 years and have no idea that they go to church every week. Because they never said anything.
Yeah.
It's like, man, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
Undercover Christians.
yeah, undercover Christians is, that's a problem, a big problem. Like, what are you embarrassed about? What are you ashamed about? Like, do you just not believe it? You know, that's what I question.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you never told anyone that you're a Christian. That makes me think, well, you're either embarrassed to be a Christian or you don't understand what you are well enough to explain why you are it. You know? I don't understand it at all, to be honest.
Because if you understand the gravity of your belief, you'd want people to know about it. You'd want people to be, hey, I got to at least tell you what you might be missing out on or what you like, what has been really impactful and good in my life.
Yeah. Dude, I've worked with people where I'll be like telling them about, you know, what I believe or whatever. I work for 'em like a year. And then eventually I say, yeah, I am actually a Christian. Like, I go to church. Like, dude, I've been witnessing to you for like a year. And now you're telling me that you've been a Christian this whole time. Why didn't you say that?
Yeah.
Like, you're just so used to going to work and living a different life and not telling anyone that you're a Christian, that when you work with a Christian, you still don't tell them that you're a Christian. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I was listening to an audiobook this week, which I actually really enjoyed. It's by Daniel Priestley, and you know it was not a Christian book at all. But I thought, oh man, the ramifications for Christianity is huge in what this guy's talking about. He was talking about in business. He said, well, in marketing, there's this principle of 7-11-4. If someone, and there's been these studies done, if someone will engage with your content for 7 hours, if they have 11 touch points with you, and maybe that was just a DM or, you know, a comment or something like that, you know, you've had 11, you know, small scale interactions with them, or they have seen you in 4 locations, and that could be, you know, you bumped into them in town. That could be, you know, or, you know, in a brand sense, it can be in multiple places online or whatever, but 4 different realms of their experience. If you have any, like a mixture of those that adds up to those numbers, you will almost always become a person of influence where they will care, like even if they don't agree with you, they will care what you think. And
this is why evangelism works.
That's right. Well, this is
because
how
it puts all of
should
them,
work.
Well, it puts all of those 3 things in one boom. So you end up, they're listening to you for a substantial amount of time.
Yep.
They're interacting with you, and they are seeing you in person, all happening at once. And you become that influential figure.
That's right. Then they come to church, and so they've interacted with you in one setting. You interact with them at church. You get them to come along to a Bible study at your house. There's like multiple touch points, and all of a sudden, there's this connection that's happening. And he said this really interesting thing. He said, there's a few people that get this right, but even the people that do, an even smaller number of them are successful. And the reason is because the people who get this part right, where, okay, you've had 4 hours of conversations across the course of time, or they've listened to your podcast for 4 hours or whatever it is, and they've done the other things, but you never actually had a sales conversation with them. You never actually gave them the opportunity to make a decision. You just floated in their proximity. And I thought, oh man, this is evangelism, right? You know, if we get this right, where we're rubbing up against the world around us in such a way so as we're building influence. But at some point, you still have to say to them, you know, do you actually, are you interested?
You've got to make a move.
Yeah, it's time, you know. And I thought if it like just sort of factors into what we were saying, if Christians just did that, you know, like an experience that I've had over the last few months, I went through a long period of time, years of my experience, and I guess a part of it is because, you know, my life has been very much. You know, I haven't had like a job out in the world, so I'm not meeting a bunch of people that are new all the time. But anyway, for whatever the reason, I didn't have many opportunities to share the gospel or Bible study with people. And over the last year, I don't know, just people have been showing up, and I've been just trying to be more intentional about asking that question. Like, okay, we have a conversation about something spiritual, and you know, there's that air, there's that feeling of there's an expectation of like someone take this conversation somewhere because like there's this point of it's hanging, and I'll just be like, you know, did you want to look at that at some point? And it's remarkable how many people are like, yeah, actually I do, you know, and those opportunities are everywhere if you're open to them and you can learn how to, you know, have conversations with people. It's very cool. Anyway, so but I know that was a long way around, but I think that
No,
yes, that is how it happens. You know, to answer the question of how does this happen. But I also think that to your point, it's a big deal, right? And I think there will be catalyzing events. I think that the explanation that we have just before this about all of these problems, these struggles, this tribulation that people are going to experience, I think that will be a part of the catalyzing events that will cause people to want to know. People want to know, and hopefully Christians will be ready to give those answers.
When questionable things start happening, people start asking questions.
Do you want a terrible analogy?
Yes.
Yes, always.
I'm a history fan, and thank you, Steve. Thanks to Steve, I have been enjoying some hardcore history podcasts, and I'm listening to Wrath of the Khans, and they were talking about how the soldiers would be given the roles of saying like, okay, well, we know there's like, 100,000 people or 200,000 people here, and we know there's only like 20,000 of us. So, and they would do the math of like how many people each person would have to kill, and then they would say, all right, so these are your quotas. Like you can't sleep tonight until you've met your quota, and send them off into the city. And that's one of the reasons that they were so effective, and they were saying, and I think this again, other lessons we can pull out here. So many of those times, the people in those cities so vastly outnumbered them that they didn't have to die, they didn't have to be overthrown, but because they had lost the battle in their mind, they capitulated, and there was actually a record of one situation where one of the soldiers was confronted by like 20 residents, and he was like, oh, I don't have my axe, you all wait here, I'll go get it. And they waited for him. They waited for him.
I think you'd go get a stick or something.
You would think. I'm like 20 people against one dude with no weapon, and they're like,
Just mob him.
yeah. I'm like, that's fine, we'll stand here and we'll let you go get your axe and kill all of us.
If he had his axe, you could mob him.
Yeah, even if he had it. That's right. But I guess the
Craziness.
when I see that, I'm like, how much of the battle is a mental one,
I listened to the Punic
Punic Wars.
The Punic Wars, and one of the quotes out of that was, "Your enemy is never defeated until he believes he is." So the oh my goodness, the Carthaginians had like absolutely dunked on the Romans, but they just didn't stop, and they're like, "How are you guys not stopping?" They're like, "We're not stopping," and they ended up just literally flattening the city.
Really?
like eventually because
Yeah.
Italy and Carthage is in North Africa, so they literally crossed the ocean, flattened Carthage.
When,
After that, had almost the exact same thing happen to them, but they just didn't give up. And Carthage is like, "Why didn't you guys surrender?" Like, "Nope, you haven't beaten us."
Yep.
We don't believe we're beaten. But in that case, there's 20 people like, "Oh, we're beaten."
Yep.
It's like, well,
So apparently we are.
yeah, it's like if you didn't believe you were beaten, you'd be smacking him.
Yes.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
What was that supposed to be an example of? Sorry, you said it was going to be a
Yeah, sorry. I went to two different places. I came across two different ideas as I was talking. So one was if we as Christians, went out with that mentality of like, hey, there's like, there's 100 of people that don't know Jesus for every one of us. How effective would we be? We're not there to convert them.
no.
We're there to be a witness. We're just if we just all had that in our mind, hey, for each one of us over the next 10 years, we've at least got to be a witness to 100 people, just so they know that we belong to God, and this is what He's done through us. Let them make their choices. But like, can you imagine the effect that they would have over the course of time? So.
And then any one of those who did become a follower of Christ
Same
then
thing.
became a witness
Yep.
and had that goal. Wildfire.
Literally.
And yeah, anyway, no, I love the power of the gospel, and what you're just saying there, Shannon. I love seeing what God does for people. You know, there's somebody that I've been studying with, and they were saying to me 2 weeks ago that they could not believe the way that they've been able to handle the challenge, just the challenges of life in general. Over the course of time between the comparison between what they were like before they started studying their Bible and what they were like after that. They were just saying, I cannot believe how much more able I am to deal with life just because I have this store of power now, and I was like, that is so amazing to see that legitimate change in
that's
people's
cool.
hearts and lives. And
That's beautiful.
the more you see that happen, the more people are going to want that. This is story
Where are
time
we
with
up
Luke.
to?
I need to shut up. somebody else talk.
Should we continue from verse 15?
15.
Yeah.
You want to read or?
I'm happy to, but I don't know if you were keen.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Go for it.
If you have anything to say, just speak
Oh,
up.
don't worry. I'll
Just
interrupt you.
interrupt.
So when you see standing in the holy place the abomination that causes desolation, spoken of through the prophet Daniel, let the reader understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let no one on the housetop go down and take anything out of their house. Let no one in the field go back to get their cloak. How dreadful it will be in those days for pregnant women and nursing mothers. Pray that your flight will not take place in the winter or on the Sabbath, for there will be a great distress, unequaled from the beginning of the world until now, and never to be equaled again. If those days had not been cut short, no one would survive. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened. At the time, if anyone says to you, "Look, here is the Messiah," or "There he is," do not believe it. For false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. See, I have told you ahead of time. So if anyone does tell you, "There he is, out in the wilderness," do not go out. Or, "He is here, in the inner room," do not believe it. For as lightning that comes from the east is visible even in the west, lightning, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Wherever there is a carcass, there the vultures will gather. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then all the peoples of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with great power and great glory. And he will send his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heavens to the other.
Mm.
And I think that's
Thank
good.
Yeah, that was a good amount. So much to unpack here. So it starts off talking very much of, it feels like the destruction of the temple, right?
Yeah.
Talking about, the abomination standing in the holy place, and those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. It's talking about a specific place, specific people.
That feels very much like the answer to the question they were asking about
Exactly.
the destruction of the temple,
Yeah.
right?
He's saying, if you're, flee to the mountains, don't go back to your house, don't take anything, don't look, very much like fleeing the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, where he says, don't even look back, just get out of there because it's about to go down, right? And then where is it sort of where
Which
you
part are you looking
realize
21's where it's
21 where you
switches
go, oh, he's talking about more than just the destruction of Jerusalem, you know.
back. It kind of picks up a different train there because, like, for then there will be a great tribulation, such has not been since the beginning of the world.
Yeah.
So, but he is kind of like in the answer, he's not saying that the disciples are wrong with their assumption. He's kind of leading them to believe that
That's
their
right.
assumption's right.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's paralleling the destruction of Jerusalem to the end times. Like, it's going to be a similar event. Like, for us after the fact, looking back, like, oh yeah, the destruction of Jerusalem. That's, you know, that's something that we can look at and be like, oh yeah, you know, if you see stuff like that happening, get out, you know, run.
Well, also it's a close of probation,
Yeah.
like Daniel 9's talking about, you know, the covenant and like Jesus' death, and it's like the time for the Jews had been cut off because they hadn't like done what God had asked them to do, and it's the same for us at the end of time, or the world at the end of time. It's like this is the end, this is the reckoning. So you've either got to be on this camp or this camp, and it's all going down. And if anyone knows anything about history, the fall of Jerusalem was one of those places you did not want to be in history. Like it's, yeah.
And the other point that sort of alludes as well that it's a parallel to the future is in 22. If those days had not been cut short, no one would have survived. Unless there is something that cut the temple, the destroying of the temple short. That sounds like it's not talking about that.
It's not talking about that at all. No, it's talking about the persecuting that followed it.
And
the great persecution of the Christians. It's like, well, if the persecution, the like avid persecution of the Christians hadn't stopped, they all would have just died. You know, and you know, obviously persecution has never really stopped, but you know, it comes in waves. You know, there's persecution, and then there's Christianity, and then there's persecution, and then there's Christianity,
and not in the same place.
Not in the same place, not at the same time.
Like, I mean, we can say, oh, well, there's not really any persecution here, but like, there's a lot of other places in the world where the
Eastern
having bad, yeah.
So, and again, this recurring thing of their, you know, false Christ, false prophets, showing great signs, if possible, to deceive even the elect. So, as you sit and you think, who is the person who is as cemented as possible in the gospel? Even those people, if it's possible, like if there's any wiggle room at all, they're gonna be deceived too.
Yeah. And that's why what I'm thinking when I've seen this this preacher that I follow. And he's, you know, got the wristband and he's there and he's singing praise and worship songs to this picture of Charlie Kirk. And I've gone, man, like you're falling into it, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's happening to you. You're one of those guys who I was like, this guy's solid, you know? Like he's an evangelical preacher. So obviously there's a lot that I disagree with him about, you know, in the, you know, in his interpretation of theology. But like he's, you know, he's on fire for the Lord. You can see that he's, you know, got that relationship with Christ, that fire burning in his soul, that desire for ministry and evangelism, you know. You go, this guy is on fire, he's solid. And you're like, man, like this one simple thing where you think, oh, this is, you know, this persecution of this famous Christian is bringing lots of people to church. It's also like, oh, well, hang on. It's also deceiving the elect.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, even look at other specific events in history, like, you know, David Koresh, you know, when that was going on, that like these cult moments in history. It's not like people think, oh, that's, you know, weak-minded people get sucked into these things. No. There was some like very intelligent and theologically intelligent people that got sucked into those situations. There's way more at stake than whether you've got a high IQ or not.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
A lot of people, you know, the further Koresh went were like, okay, no, I'm out.
Yeah.
You know, I know people who ditched that cult like 2 weeks before it all went down.
Oh wow. Dodged a
dodged
bullet.
a big bullet. Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
So
Because it comes back to what the point you were making about the marketing thing. If you're doing those points, it's easy for people to relate and feel connected to you. And that can either be used for bad or good.
Yeah.
So my question is, we've been going for like an hour, and there's a fair bit of this chapter left. Do you want to do a 2-part, or do you want to
How far in are
do
we?
a summary?
Yeah, we are about halfway, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do a 2-parter.
And then we got our next week.
Then we know what we're coming into next week.
Yeah.
So cool. Let's do that. Let's leave that there, because I feel like
That's a good point.
I was gonna say there's if we try to rush through the last part, I feel like we're gonna miss things that I think are gonna be worthwhile. So let's put that on the shelf. We'll revisit this. For now, we would invite you guys to read this passage yourself through this next week. We'd love to have any feedback that you have. If you have anything that you wanted to contribute, please send us a message. Jump on social. Instagram is where most of the people message us. If you hop on there, send us a message. We would love to share some of insights that you've had, or if there are any specific points that you'd like us to discuss or questions that you have around this passage, send us a message. We would love
this is
to.
a great opportunity too, because you as a listener know what we're going to be talking about next week.
Yes.
And so if you read through and go, oh, I've got a really good point about this particular verse that you guys haven't gotten to yet.
Yep.
We want to know that point so we can share it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can plagiarize it.
Yeah. Even if you want to comment on one of the earlier verses, by all means, let us
absolutely.
know. We would love to hear that. So we're going to leave that there. Thank you guys for joining us, and we would also strongly recommend final thing, just one last plug. If you guys are not in a small group Bible study of your own, this is your sign to start one. So just reach out to a friend. Neither of you have to be, or none of the people in the group have to be professors or pastors or elders. You can get together. You can read the Bible. It's good for the soul. So if you're not in a group like that, start one. And if you are, take a selfie, send it to us. We would love to give you guys a shout out on the show. So
You'd be surprising how easy it is these days to say to your colleague or your friend, hey, you want to come over to our place? A couple of us are studying the Bible.
Yeah.
And they'll say, yeah.
Absolutely. All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you guys. Have a great week. God bless.